I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Recording in progress.
Okay. So I would like to start by asking for a motion to accept the regular meeting minutes from July 25th. Any comments, corrections, changes? May I have a motion to accept? Cindy? May I have a second?
Mark, did you read them?
I was absent.
He was absent.
Yes. Okay.
Were you absent?
I wasn't, but my computer was stuck. I couldn't read them.
Oh,
Wait,
we can wait for Jim, so we'll postpone that. Okay. So at this time, I will open it up for any public comments. If you would state your name for the record.
Robert Huffman, former mayor of the Speculator, 18 years on the village board. I don't really know what I'm talking about, but usually when I talk, some people do listen. Anyway, the 1935 Ford fire truck is back on the agenda. You know, what I have to say is, the 1935 Ford fire truck is not just a piece of equipment. It is a historical artifact of the village of Speculator, and it should remain in the village as a historical piece. It belongs to the residents of the village, and I was always told if you don't preserve your history, you're not going to have a future. And that's my sentence.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
you want us to speak?
No, you're on the agenda. Yep. Okay. Hearing nothing else, I will close public comments and we will go on to the report for wastewater. So, Ed?
All right. Sorry I got this to you so late. We had a busy day prepping for our I&I study that starts tomorrow. As for the water department, pump number 1 has been repaired, but it has not been upgraded yet. During the attempt of the upgrade, we found another problem with burnt wiring that I had missed. Fortunately, we had already planned for all these upgrades, so it doesn't really hurt anything. We're just going to move forward with it. The wiring issue has been resolved. I did test on Thursday. It does seem to be working. I want to put it back. I haven't put it back online yet because I was by myself. And I need to do a flush and a few other things before I do that, but we just have a lot going on right now. We've began installing the inventory of meters that we have in stock. We started down by the wastewater plant. We're kind of doing an approach where we're going to do a road at a time until they're finished. Once those are gone, we will order more and move forward. We began painting some hydrants in the village, only on Elm Lake Road. This is going to take a little bit of time because we need good weather and spare time to do it. We're checking chlorine and phosphate weekly in the village. Our tank was inspected last week. Well, it was videoed, inspected, everything looks fine, but it is due for a cleaning. I'll schedule this for this year. I contacted DOH and there's no issues moving forward with that and no changes in operations.
If I can just comment, I did speak to the tank inspector and he said that the water was really pristine in there, which is great. He said it was very, very clear. So that's great.
He's seen some very bad ones. So
Yeah.
As for grants, as we all know, we applied for a generator grant through USDA. Or no, through FEMA, sorry. We won't hear anything maybe until January. Until then, we'll continue operating the way we are. The next WIA funding grant is due on September 9th. I asked Brendan to move forward with the application. It's basically just a resubmittal of what we had recently done. Unfortunately, we didn't score well the first time for the 60% grant. So I'll be working with DOH Lamont to try to improve that scoring. Unfortunately, that means added costs, so I don't know if it's worth it, but I will find out what we could add to increase those scores. Our plant has been upgraded. It's 20 years old, but compared to what it used to be when it came out of the lake, so that's what they're looking for now, and a lot of the money goes to projects like those. As for the FEMA water crossing, we're still getting that together. It should go out end of August, beginning of September for that. That's going to go out with the wastewater FEMA project. Just give me 1 second. There. Sorry about that.
Okay.
So that'll be going out soon. Hopefully, we'll get the bids out. The only concern Brendan had was Labor Day is on the 5th. And from his experience, whenever projects go out to bid around holidays, they don't get as many looks as they should. So we'll play it by ear when it comes to that.
Okay.
As for the wastewater department, we're still checking pump stations bi-weekly. The outside plant has been taken offline and will be pumped down once flows reduce. We have a repair that needs to be done in the metal on the tank. That should happen through the project. As I said before, the I&I study will begin tomorrow. We ran around today and prepped manholes for that. And then while they're cammering tomorrow, we'll begin digging up the ones on Route 8, which have been buried under blacktop for quite some time. Once those inspections are made, we'll be backfilled and we will put risers on them once I know what we need in the fall sometime, and blacktop all of those holes plus any holes that we have existing from water main breaks. Our tractor's still at H&M, but we don't need a regen system. It was just a sensor that was causing the problem, so that's good. And after routine maintenance is performed, we'll get it back. The upgrade project. It's near completion. However, we had some problems. There was some things that weren't connected by the electricians that need to be done so prior to Aqualogics coming. So once all that's done and taken care of, we should finish that up. The generator prices have came in to around $80,000. That's just for equipment. We are expecting a total price of around $120,000, but these numbers aren't set in stone as we only have equipment prices. And we're looking at whether or not we actually need the generator we have, because the plant was originally built with an 800 amp service, of which we only use 400. So there's a good chance we can save a little money by not buying a generator that's as large as what's there. And then, as I had said, the FEMA project and the grant for disinfection has been applied for, and we are just waiting back to hear from them. We rewrote the report. Brendan rewrote the report to include UV for disinfection instead of chlorine, because we found that it was cheaper than it previously thought it was. Plus, eventually everyone will have to go to UV. But this is a separate project from what we have. However, we already have acquired financing once we move forward with that. And that is it for now. Any questions?
No, you guys have been, none from me. You've had a lot of stuff going on. Anything from the board? Mark?
No.
Okay. So great job keeping up. Very happy to hear that the I&I study is starting tomorrow. Will our flash rain have any impact on that?
What happened?
We just had storms come through. We just had
okay.
storms come
No.
through. Okay.
Actually, it might help a little. Who knows?
Okay. Good. Okay. We did have a question a while back on the ownership of Edgemont Road. There was a break in the line, And we did send out to our lawyers, Miller, Mannix, Schachner, and Hafner, for a statement on what we do in that regard, and if it is our property, our easement, or if it's private. So based on the information that Ed so kindly provided to them, it's deemed that Edgemont Drive is a private road, as we believe, and the water line is privately owned from Route 8 valve down the road. So New York State Village law provides that water supply pipes used by private owners to connect mains shall be repaired at the private owner's expense. And they went on to explain what that process is. So, the village can repair these lines and assess the cost against property owners whose property fronts or abuts the related street or a portion thereof. And there's a process by which that goes through. We cannot just fix something because we see it bubbling. It's got to be an emergency, or it has to be a specific request for us to come and help. So since in this case, Edgemont is a private road, the supply pipe on this road must be maintained by the people who use the supply pipe. Thus, any repairs needed on the pipe must have been noticed by the village to the owners of property fronting or abutting, who should have had a specified time to fix the leaks themselves before the village fixed it on their behalf. So that being said, the village did receive a call notifying it of the leak and presumably asking the water department to fix it, which is the case. So if such a call, that can be determined as an emergency. So the village would have the right to assess the cost of the repair to at least that property owner. If they assess the repair costs against the property owners or others on Edgemont Drive, the assessments could be susceptible to a successful legal challenge due to the notice failures. So Ed had provided an estimate on how much time was required for that repair. It was approximately 6 hours. Ed, you had noted that it was 6 hours between Lenny, JR, Lee, Josh, and yourself. So that's 6 hours each, or 6 hours in total?
No, that would be 6 hours each because we were all there the entire time.
Right, no, it was
And then
a pretty large break.
People stayed there on standby when we had to go get parts, so.
Okay, so we will be preparing a bill for the owners of Edgemont Drive to back charge them for the cost of the repair by the village. So we can work on that tomorrow. Any questions or comments about that? Okay.
What's the procedure for notifying people that live on that road?
Of the situation that there'll be,
That's gonna be their responsibility to fix it.
it'll be a letter. So they were notified. I think that's what we need to determine, because the road itself is owned by the last property owner on the line, but according to the law, it's the property that abuts the break. So in this case, it would be the person who called us. So there are 3 or 4 houses before you get to the end. So I think we just need to decide who the letter goes to or who it gets copied to. Okay, thank you, Ed. Any other comments or questions for Ed? Okay, all right, have a good evening, thank you.
You too, thank you.
Okay, so Tracy, if you would do the clerk treasurer's report,
It's very short.
okay?
The AD has been submitted and is available for anyone to review. There is a resolution for redistribution that's together that I think you're going to do.
Yes.
And I'll just finish quick because there's only, the financial report number 2 is ready for review, and then draft number 5.
Okay, so then let's go to the resolution, budget amendments. Okay, let's, can you see the resolution?
Financial report number 2.
Can you see the resolution on your,
No. I don't know what that is.
Stop share. Okay. Share. Here it is. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
All right, make that a little bit bigger. So this is a resolution for the 22-23 budget adjustments for redistribution of mayor and trustee salaries. This resolution is known as the budget amendment for redistribution of mayor and trustee salaries. So Mayor Barrett and Trustee Doniker have given back their salary to the village it should be 3. I apologize. So it's Mayor Barrett and Trustees Doniker and Jay Rumsey have given back their salary to the village budget to be used as stated in their letters, but due to the terms of office expiring in 2023, only 10 months of their budgeted salary can be adjusted at this time. Mayor Barrett has requested that her salary through April 1 in the amount of $2,294.17 be donated to the McComas Fire Tower project. Trustee Rumsey has requested in the amount of $1,323.75 to be donated to the McComas Fire Tower project. And Trustee Doniker has requested that his salary through April 3rd in the amount of $1,323.75 be applied to the fire department budget as needed. So these dates are actually the 3rd, not the 1st. Therefore, be it resolved that the following administrative changes will be made to the budget. Move $2,294 from A1210.1 Mayor Personal Services to A1010.1, and then move a total of $3,617.92 to A6984 Other Economic Development Fire Tower specifically. And then move the amount of Trustee Doniker's salary from the Personnel Services for Board of Trustees to the Fire Department. Okay, so may I have a motion to resolve these changes? Okay, second?
Second.
Mark, any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion carries. Okay. And then I'd like a motion to approve abstract number 5.
So moved.
Okay, and Cindy seconds. Any comments, questions, or changes? This abstract had quite a few fire department bills and a couple of the National Grid.
Water department.
Mm-hmm. You want to look at it? It'll be at the end of the list.
It's the app, the ones that have the app of what one is the water.
I don't know what it is.
I'm sorry.
I'm really sorry.
That's sewer. Hold on. Here you go. Please, oh, this is all the app over here. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, just about National Grid at the well site. It looked like that was higher than.
Yeah, I think part of the issue is that the pump is bad and the wiring has been
We're
bad.
going in the whole burnt wire situation.
Correct.
And that's how we ended up.
Correct.
That was,
Yep, okay.
got it.
So all in favor of paying abstract number 5, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion carries. Okay. Going through old business, there's really nothing to report with the COVID-19 update. As Ed had mentioned, we are setting out to bid the last 2 projects from the FEMA. It's not FEMA COVID, it's FEMA Halloween storm. And the FEMA COVID, there's no change in that. The McComas Fire Tower, it looks like we are on track for a ribbon cutting around the end of August, beginning of Labor Day. So I've reached out to Hamilton County, Rochelle and Christie, as well as Roost, to help us with that. The two main things that we're waiting for and were confirmed this week was the steel for the steps and the gratings has been ordered and should be coming in next week. And then speaking with a fence company, they will be able to put up the fence before the ribbon cutting. So that's a safety concern. So they're getting back with final numbers tomorrow. So that'll be really great to move forward. And people have been very kind and generous with that project. The septic system and erosion regulations, we are still waiting on feedback from our lawyers. So I haven't heard anything. I sent them a reminder for that. Yes. And from what I understand, one of the reasons why we waited so long to bring this before the public and see if we can pass this law about septic systems and erosion is that we were waiting on Lake George. They had implemented a comparable law and to see how that played out. And from what I understand, they haven't implemented it yet. So we'll get back. But our lawyers, I believe, are the same as Lake George lawyers. So they would be well familiar for that. Okay, Speculator Volunteer Fire Department. There's a number of items here. So, okay, let me call that up. Where did I? Nope. I guess I didn't call that up. Okay, so the SAM grant for the UTV is now complete. There is a small amount of overage for some of the equipment that has been purchased for that. The fire department is providing those funds to the village. The 1935 fire truck, the fire department has agreed to pay out of their funds the amount for the insurance to cover the truck so that it will be off of the village budget, but that will be covered by the fire department. So a resolution will be written for our next meeting, specifically attributing those funds to the care and upkeep for the village fire truck. So that matter has been resolved. And then there was a sale of tires made by the fire department for the rescue truck in the amount of $800. That didn't exactly follow the procedures correctly. So the fire department has written a check back to the village for $800 that will go into their reserve funds for equipment, as we've been doing with other sale and surplus. Any questions or comments about fire department? Anything else?
No.
Okay. So second point on the agenda is the parade committee. Rochelle Martz had asked to address the board. So come on up. Sure.
Sorry, Martha, Jonathan has to be here.
Okay.
Just wanted to come to the board and see, I know you had made a change to your application for use of the pavilion area. Basically, just what's going to be expected of us.
It's just addressing toilets.
Right. Just, we don't have an excess of funds. We do all of our own fundraising. We have a very limited budget, so we just need to know what we need to plan for.
I think it was stated that for every so each toilet is estimated to hold 100 to 200 people per hour. So with so I think it was a perfect storm this last July 4th, where we had the pavilion toilet shut down because overuse leads to flooding and shut down anyway, and a lot of issues, as well as the two bathrooms down at the beach were shut down. So in an ideal world, we would have had six or seven bathrooms available, but still would have required another, with that amount of people, we probably would have required another one or two bathrooms to accommodate. So what we are doing is we are upgrading the bathrooms to the beach house.
Okay.
And we are consolidating the bathroom at the pavilion, upgrading it, consolidating it to one bathroom. So as people may or may not know, it's a 2-stall unisex bathroom, but people would go in and lock the door with one person anyway. So now it's going to be converted to one stall, and then the rest of that space will be converted into a storage area, most likely for the hockey equipment during the winter season. And that will be updated, maintained to make sure it's not going to overflow.
So next year, we'll have the 3 on the firehouse as we did this year. We'll have will the one on the pavilion be
Yes.
repaired for next year?
Yep, yeah,
And
it'll
then
be
we'll-
repaired by September.
Okay, and then the ones over at the beach, will they be
The
open?
2 at the beach will be open.
Okay.
Right.
And are those going to be, because I don't know about the men's room. The women's room has 2 stalls in it. Will that remain?
Yes,
And the
those will
men's room
remain the same.
remain- okay.
Never been in the men's room myself. I haven't checked that out. I don't know anybody know how many stalls there are?
Jeanette, should they remain closed due to the fireworks and the people encroaching on the
Yeah.
fireworks?
Yeah, I'm sorry. So during the pavilion portion of it, I think it can be open, but when the fireworks are going, they have to be
After
shut.
it be locked down.
Right, so those would have to be,
And
those
that
have
would
to
be,
be
that
shut.
would take care of that. Okay.
Right,
So
right.
we're looking at 2.
Maybe
porta
2 porta potties,
Okay.
right? So if we're judging the way Twigs does it, Twigs does an automatic 2, and they anticipate around 4,000 people coming through. And that's a much longer period of time and a less dense
Yeah.
period of time, so I think 2 porta pots should be fine.
You guys have anything else that you wanted to ask after that?
No.
Yeah, good.
Thank you for answering.
Thank
our
you. It was a huge turnout.
questions.
So congratulations. I think people were ready to come out after all these shutdowns.
Certainly was a lot of smiles,
They're not-
a lot of happy kids, so you should be commended.
A lot of bouncing kids.
Yes,
It's overwhelming number of
yeah.
Right.
All had sugar fits the next day.
All right, so moving on to point number 3, e-bike regulations. And I'm just looking to pull this up. Why can't I? There it is. Okay, and trustee. Hey, Rick, we'll have you in a second. So trustee Smith, if you can tell me what slides you want us to look at.
Yeah, one more.
Okay. One more?
We can do another one. All right. So I did an online webinar about electric bikes, and it was presented by Jack Mance, who's a senior transportation planner. And he had been working on kind of a bicycle pedestrian issue fact sheet. So he was kind of studying it in an office. And there were several people, that joined online. And some had more experience with electric bikes, and they could give good input. So they started out with a definition that an electric bike is a bicycle with an electric motor that is less than 750 watts, and it must be equipped with pedals. If it does not have a pedal, it's not considered an electric bike. So e-bikes are not mopeds, they're not motorized mini bikes, dirt bikes, or any kind of limited use motorcycle. It's also not gas powered, it has to be electric powered to be, thus the E of the bike. And there are 3 different classes of electric bikes. So in class 1, while you're pedaling, you can get assistance. So say you're going up one of these really steep hills, it'll keep pedaling, and if you stop pedaling, it stops.
Oh.
So that's considered pedal assist. So while you're doing the actual physical pedaling, that's when it kind of kicks in for you. But maximum speed is 20 miles per hour. So they limit how fast these electric bikes are supposed to go. And then in class 2, it's considered throttle assisted. So it's power on demand. So you can get power without any pedaling. So you stop pedaling, the bike keeps going, but again, it can only go to 20 miles per hour at any point in time. I dare say some of the bikes that are not e-bikes go faster than 20 miles per hour on some of our hills around here. But the throttle assisted, again, is built into the bike that it stops assisting at the 20 miles per hour. Class 3 does not apply to our area because you have to have at least 1 million people before you can have a bike that is in Class 3. So they're designed more for cities in really intense areas. They have the electric motor, it can run without pedaling, but that Class 3 stops at 25 miles per hour. And I believe that's because they're trying to encourage people to use them to go to work. And so probably some people are thinking 20 miles per hour, that's too slow, I'm not gonna do that. So as we move towards a more green world, it just struck me as odd that you go faster in the city than in the country.
Yeah.
But that's the way it was set up. So class 1 and 2 would apply up here, class 3 like New York City.
Okay.
An example of where you might see those. 1 and 2 are legal in our area, 3 is not. You can ride in bike lanes, I think this is probably the next one. They were saying that they're really not seeing much difference between accidents on electric bikes versus unassisted bikes with no electricity at this point. And it's okay for a bike to ride in a bike lane. And when you're in a bike lane, you can't go faster than 20 miles per hour because it's designed for the bike.
Right.
Generally speaking, on a trail, the bikes tend, with an electric assist, tend to be slower than a regular bike. They don't really know why, they just observe that.
And you're able to use e-bikes on shoulders, anywhere you would use a regular bike.
You can use them on the shoulder, but not on a sidewalk.
Okay.
So the e-bikes, they do ride faster. They can go like between 6 and 7 miles per hour faster. And again, that's to help people get to work. There have been no clear, definitive, like positive or negative safety impacts. They really felt the rider was really, and rider behavior was a greater factor than the e-bike itself. That sometimes they're a little bigger, a little bit heavier. There's an adjustment period.
Right.
Have to ride safely on it. Injuries tend to happen with older or inexperienced cyclists.
Sure.
Or someone that might have slower reflexes. These bikes start about $1,000. They can go up to 3 and 5 and crazy kind of numbers, but they're again saying it's cheaper than a car, so really big push towards the electric bikes. They felt that the Gen Z generation and the millennials would be the ones buying the bikes, at least in the cities. But I think up here, it's more people in the senior kind of class wanting help with those hills.
Right.
You know, but I've seen more even whole families having them this summer here. So some of the benefits, obviously to the environment, no gas, no emissions, we can replace some of those trips with gas kind of vehicles. Accessibility makes it so you can go further on the bike. You can get up the hills. And so you can have riders with diverse abilities that can do the hills along with you. And then they talked about benefits to, you know, the mild cardio workout that you would get, mental health, outside, being outside, fresh air, that kind of thing. So in April of 2020, New York State passed a law, and it said that electric bikes should only be used in speed zones of 30 miles per hour or less. They're not to be on the sidewalks, and they're not to be on shared use paths like even like powered wheelchairs that it might be too dangerous or something like that. Unless the municipality thinks it's okay. So a local municipality can pass an ordinance or a law that says it's okay, like we could decide.
So for Speculator, most of our roads are 30 miles an hour, except for the 40 mile an hour from the library down to Twigs or Camp Store, and then on South Shore Road. So because they have shoulders, do we need to pass a regulation to allow e-bikes to traverse the lake? Because I've heard it
Let's go to
both
the
ways.
next slide.
Okay,
Kind of slide on local legislation.
okay.
Okay. Well, let's go back one.
Oh, one more.
Can you go back?
Sorry.
Nothing on side over here. Riders must be at least 16 years old. If we want to change the age, we can do that. Any rule that applies to regular bike also applies to e-bike. And we're given a lot of latitude about how we decide. Okay, so it's very good. Alright, so as a board, we can make a decision to allow them as stated by New York State law. We could prohibit them altogether, which I don't think we would want to do. We could limit their use, or we could put requirements such as wearing a helmet, wearing reflective clothing, things like that. Alright, we can keep going. Alright, so we can allow e-bikes on roads less than 30 miles per hour and in bike lanes. And for that, no law is required. If we want them to go on roads more than 30, if we want them on sidewalks, trails and paths, or within a bike system, that would require a local law. So I'm not so sure about this shoulder business, because they were clearer about the bike lane.
Right. For which we don't have any.
No, we don't have the width in the road.
Right.
To even think about putting it there.
Right. And we wouldn't necessarily want an e-bike to share the traffic lane with cars, I don't think.
Well, the thing when I went to this that concerned me was they made the statement that if there was an accident of someone on an e-bike with a vehicle in a zone greater than 30 miles per hour, that the biker is automatically at fault because they're illegally on the road.
Okay.
That's not intended for an electric bike, according to the people who made the law. Yeah.
But that's if they're in the road, but not on the shoulder.
They're just riding on the road.
bicycle? I mean,
Well, a regular bicycle can't be in the lane.
but I mean, so why would that be different? Why would?
It's just the speed. So
No, I know that.
New
I'm
York-
saying, so like,
So if we had,
when you have somebody going down South Shore Road,
right,
they're not riding on a shoulder.
That'd be dangerous because of the traffic.
yeah, I know.
So they're
Technically,
riding
they,
on the road.
right.
So I don't think that we can say it's too riding.
So I don't think they're riding on the road. So I think where this is leading is that we would have to pass a regulation to allow them to be on the 40-mile-an-hour roads and the 30-mile-an-hours, because it's anything less than.
Because otherwise they can't.
They can't get around the lake.
Yeah, what do you can't go anywhere.
Well, then so I think as part of that, since, we don't go all the way around the lake with speculator roads, this is something that we need to bring up with Lake Pleasant.
Oh, I see. Yeah, because wherever borders you.
Right.
Has to,
And I think on South Shore it gets into the county.
Yeah.
Over there, but
right,
really, we're responsible for the village and what
Right.
happens here,
Sorry,
so
I'm only thinking about like the whole.
no, you can only go so far, turn around, go back, turn around, go back.
And there's one fella here, he couldn't even ride an e-bike in his village because of the whole regulation about how many miles per hour. Like, he goes, I couldn't even ride to work because everything's 40 miles per hour. Right?
Electric bikes stop here, don't go.
Exactly.
Don't try $200.
And there's little catch things that,
But the other thing is, when you bring in the law, there's someone who's going to enforce it. And so they were definitely encouraging educate people about what the law is in hopes that they will,
I just wonder what Rick does when he rents them.
He doesn't rent them. I called. He sells them.
He just sells them.
Does Casey rent them? No, he just rents regular mountain bikes.
Yeah.
Probably very wise.
Smart man.
Yeah.
So he doesn't rent it, so we don't use that.
No, because I was wondering if he gave them the information, like where
Right,
they
that's
get
what I
the
was thinking.
information.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and he was like, oh, no, we don't rent them, okay, we just sell them.
Gotcha.
Right,
So I did follow up on that.
okay.
So do we need to wait for Lake Pleasant?
Well, I think, what I would propose is that perhaps we reach out to Lake Pleasant and the, Board of Supervisors for the county roads, to talk with them about what their plans are to do that, just to make sure things are,
Especially, but I don't think they've made
right,
any distinctions, you know.
right, okay. All right.
And do we have to have this? It just has to be done.
Nope, doesn't have to.
Yeah, okay.
No.
Okay.
No, and, you know, we as a village could set a speed limit if we had trails that you wanted to go on.
Right.
And then people are looking into this whole thing about the lithium batteries, and is that really great for the environment?
Right, yeah, no, that's a whole nother set. Well, thank you for doing that. That's
I
very,
think for the record, the 29-year-old female that fell off a bike was on an e-bike in Moffett Beach, hit a rock when she looked to one side, wasn't paying attention, so she said, so she has a dislocated, possibly fractured right elbow, sublux right shoulder, possibly pinky broke. So that was what we took down this afternoon.
ow,
Just happens to be.
yeah,
We can
ow,
encourage establishing like trail etiquette for all trail users, like staying to the right, using your elder voice when passing, keeping dogs on the leash, and that the wheels should yield to the others.
no, that sounds good.
I mean,
Can we make a comment though and encourage, I'd like the first option of doing nothing. I'm kind of big into that.
that is an option.
Just let the other two entities, the county and the town, know that we researched it. And some of it is applicable and some of it's not, and thank you.
Yeah.
I think that's, as I see it.
Yeah, I would suggest we get feedback, just let them know, because if, for some consistency around, so if they opt to do nothing as well, I think that's fine. So, I think the other interesting thing is that, the limit is 25 miles an hour, and yet some of them go much faster.
So does that course get repeated? So if someone from the town, a town board member or a county?
I'm not sure about that, but it's still online, they could just go and
Yeah.
check it out.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward, it only takes about half hour, I mean, you could even listen to it
Okay, thank you.
online.
So I can send to Supervisor Bain and Chairman Wells about that and see what their thoughts are and what their progress is. Okay. So at this point, I'd like to move on to point number 4 in the proposed consolidation of planning and ZBA boards. And I did ask Rick to be here representing code enforcement, as well as a former member of the planning board. So what we have found after a number of individual discussions, a recent public workshop, there are not enough people who are willing to serve on these committees, and it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, and there's a pretty big commitment to do that as a volunteer, and for that we are very, very grateful. We have come to a point where Rosemary Tracy opted not to continue on the ZBA, have not been able to find someone to take her place. And on the planning board, John Foley is stepping down due to his own commitments at this time. We've had one person come forward saying that they would be willing to help out, but we're still a person short if we continue with 2 different boards. So other communities have consolidated their ZBAs and planning boards in the past and have had good success with that. So the concept of a combined board is such that once the Board of Trustees agrees to proceed, we present a resolution and propose new law to our legal counsel for review to begin the process of consolidation. That would include both boards being abolished, one board would be reappointed and be known as the Zoning Board of Appeals or just the Zoning Board, whatever is decided. The newly formed board would then take on all the responsibilities of both of the boards. So all zoning and code notes action by the planning board, or all zoning and codes that note action by the planning board would be changed to reflect zoning board. The other thing to note are that planning boards are never noted in any of the municipal laws or in the laws of New York State. Only zoning boards are under different laws. So at this time, we would suggest that the newly appointed board would be comprised of 5 full-time members and 1, possibly 2 alternate members. So the alternate members would be active for any meeting where a full-time member was not available, and the alternate member would be encouraged to attend any or all of the ZBA meetings to keep updated on all projects. So they would have an opportunity to speak and participate and be part of those discussions, but they would only vote if a full-time member was not available to be there. So we would be able to continue with the business at hand. So it aids in streamlining the process, especially if a ZBA meeting at the present time would need to be convened. We would have to continue to search for an extra board member where we haven't been able to do that for quite a while. I've been looking. So it's not meant in any way to diminish the excellent work that the planning board or the ZBAs have done in the past. And I think it's a pretty good option for us to consider going forward. One village that has done it successfully is Honeyoke Falls. They've been doing it since 2018, and their feedback has been very positive. And what they have continued to do over time is that they've created an option to give a minimal contribution to the participants on their planning board or their newly formed zoning board of appeals. I don't think that that's something we can do at the present time because the permitting process does not allow enough revenue to do that. But I think perhaps maybe some point in the future we would be able to give a nominal gesture of thanks for that, even if it covers gasoline to get here. So is there any discussion about the zoning board? So what I'm looking for is a motion to continue the process and put together a resolution and work to put together a regulation that would then go to public comment and then progress to a public hearing for passage into law for the village of Speculator.
Can I make such a motion?
Yes, you may make such a motion to proceed.
Even with his family members on the board?
He's not on the board. He's the code enforcement officer, right?
Then I'll make the motion.
Okay, second. Okay, any comments or questions?
No.
Okay. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Okay, motion carries, and we'll bring that forward at our next meeting. Next up is, Mark, if you would like to go through a resolution to purchase a Husqvarna MZ48. Let me.
Sure.
You can see that?
No, I can't.
Oh, no, why is that? Stop share.
We have it on the hard copy.
Now, can you see it?
Yes, I can. I'm not sure what resolution number this is of 2022, but it's a capital reserve fund expenditure to purchase and delay purchase of specific equipment for the Department of Public Works. I don't want to have to go through every line, but we've established a capital reserve resolution number 3 of 2020 for selected equipment for the Department of Public Works. Once we establish the fund, the maximum cost of DPW capital equipment is $100,000, and except otherwise provided by law, requires the expenditures of this reserve fund shall be made only for the purpose of this reserve fund is established. Big thing is no expenditures shall be made from the reserve fund without the approval of the village board of trustees. So whereas the DPW would like to delay the purchase of a previously budgeted ATV in an amount of $8,000 based on availability and department priorities. So pursuant to section 6C of the general municipal law, this resolution delays the purchase of the ATV and relocates a portion of this fund for a Husqvarna semi-professional mower. And we followed the speculator procurement prices. 3 bids were obtained. Village Motorsports was the lowest bid for a total of $5,789.98. Lowe's was $5,799.98, and the SLE equipment was $58.49. So we need to approve the delay of the purchase of the UTV and purchase the Husqvarna MZ48 semi-professional mower from the Village of Motorsports in the amount of $5,289.98.
Take a breath. So, may I have a motion to approve this resolution? After I do the motion, yeah.
So
Yeah.
moved.
Okay, so Mark, and second by trustee Cindy Runcie. Any questions or comments?
Mark, I did have a question. You know, the sidewalk snow blower, did we look into the attachment of a mower on that and compare it with doing it this way?
No, we didn't, because this is going to be used specifically for the cemetery. They needed a smaller mower and as a backup to the main mower. But we will look into the purchase of a mower for the Ventrax to make that year-round equipment.
So that would be used where we use the zero-turn mower. So for the ball field for large areas.
Yes.
Right, and then we're going with a semi-professional rather than spending the extra $609 to go with the commercial, fully commercial grade.
The commercial grade is is much more money. I don't think the amount of times we mow the cemetery and as a backup machine, this is in the middle between a residential and commercial machine. I think this is probably the best bet we could get for the money that we're going to spend.
I'm just wondering if it's gonna have the longevity, you know, if we're putting out almost 6,000 and it would be 609 more to have a fully commercial grade that might last longer. How are we making the best decision in the here and now?
Well, again, this is limited really to the cemetery, and basically they're cutting from sometime in early May till September. And if the other machine breaks down, they're using that. I don't really see the need for a commercial mower. This should last 10, 15 years based on their use.
And what's our plan if the other mower breaks or whatever?
Well, that would be the Ventrax backup. So you're talking about the zero.
I'm talking about the zero.
Yeah.
The Ventrax would be able to do the ball field and everything that, I don't know what size.
Correct.
Goes on that thing.
Yeah, that's what the Ventrac would be, large areas. You know, it's not a zero turn where you want to go around the public beach or anything like that. It could be used at the point, it could be used at the ball field.
Along Route 30.
Right, I understand the zero turn,
Yeah.
graveyard, there's a lot of turns.
Right.
Made there.
Yeah, so I think what Mark is saying at the end of the day is that this would be, the value for money would be appropriate for a semi-professional rather than spending the extra for the professional, given the amount of hours that are being put on the machine each year.
It just seems like it presumes that the other one's not gonna break, so I don't know that we're gonna be as ready as we could be.
Oh, no, it doesn't make the assumption that the other one is never gonna break or it's not gonna break. I think that's part of our equipment planning. So each one needs to last approximately 10 years
Right, but
under
this one
capital
says
projects.
4 years that they guarantee it for, not 10,
No one guarantees 10.
you know.
So what this stipulates is that we'll be repairing it until 10 years.
Your vehicle list, takes into consideration, basically the number of years in use and the year that it needs to be replaced. And that's not one of, without looking at it, I can't tell you what year it should be replaced.
No, do you have another question?
Well, why do we feel the need for it to be professional? It's just gonna be in the cemetery.
Well, that's the whole thing. So the professional level assumes that you would be using it every day, every week, and we're not using it as much as a professional landscaper would be using it. So it's once a week during high season, every other week during low season, low growth season, and then it's housed between September, October, and May. So it's only 5 months out of the year, 6 months out of the year.
We have a short growing.
Yeah, right. So any other comments or suggestions? Well, all in favor of purchasing the semi-professional Husqvarna, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Okay, motion carries. Okay. The next up is, I was approached by the town board through Supervisor Bain. They are putting together, they've been discussing the increase in VRBOs and Airbnbs in Lake Pleasant and Speculator. And they're putting together a committee to look at these short-term rentals with respect to safety concerns such as smoke and carbon monoxide detectors, fire extinguishers, water and sewer, among other things. So as part of their committee composition, they want approximately 7 people. The committee representative from the town would be Kathy O'Connell. They have already asked Christy Wiltz, who's a realtor, as well as Hamilton County Tourism, to serve on it. They've asked Bob Benkovich to serve on it as a former code enforcement officer. So they are also looking for an attorney to serve on that, and Betsy had a few phone calls, and they were asking recommendations from the village for a board representative. And I also asked Rick Rumsey if he would serve on that committee representing us as code enforcement and zoning officer. We've been asked to recommend someone who would represent a short-term rental owner to the board if we had any suggestions or ideas. So, Rick, do you have any thoughts regarding the number of VRBOs and Airbnbs within the recent year or two? I mean, there's been a lot of sales.
It's expanded, that's for sure. I don't have an actual number, but it's up there.
So I do know that someone had done a search on Airbnbs, the number of Airbnbs in a 30-mile radius of Speculator, which of course is outside of our zone, or includes us and goes outside, and they had come up with approximately 146, 147 VRBOs and Airbnbs. So I don't know that that covers all the websites available, for housing, but it is rather a large number. And when you look at people who are running businesses such as motels, such as lodges, they are monitored for safety through the Department of Health, whereas VRBOs and Airbnbs are not. And Airbnbs and VRBOs can be a portion of someone's home. It can be a standalone building, and concerns have been raised as far as, you know, safety concerns. And so I thought it was very interesting in speaking to one owner. She said that they have to test their water multiple times during the season. They do have inspections that go through. There are fees paid to the Department of Health for the inspections, for the water testing. So even just during our tourist season from May until September, October, they have to pay for at least 3 quarters of water testing. And none of this is done with VRBOs and Airbnbs. Different scale, different. Hotels and lodges. Yeah, hotels and lodges, right. So I would like to suggest and confirm that Rick would serve on that committee, since he sees a lot of these properties that are being renovated and the condition of some of them. The person that I would recommend for a short-term rental owner is Diana Armstrong. And the reason why I proposed Diana is that she has both an Airbnb and lodges. So for some of her properties, she's under the direction of the Department of Health, and on the other, it's the Airbnb. But I wanted to put it out there and see if people would recommend anyone else.
No, I already had her name down.
Oh. And I did speak with Diana, and she was in favor of sitting on that committee. But if there's someone we should consider and speak to, the other thing is to have a representative from the board sit on that committee. So is anyone interested in doing that? No. Okay. Yeah, we can think about it if you'd let me know within the next couple days to get back to her, so long as the board is okay with whoever steps up to volunteer to do that. Okay. She had also suggested a name of a person to sit on the board who was opposed to Airbnbs and VRBOs. I couldn't think of anybody offhand. Well, they're looking, but wanted input from the board. Would that be you, Tony? To be a Okay, I will write that down. Yes, okay. All right. So that ends new business. Any other new business? No? Okay. So as far as the roundtable, the Lake George, Lake Champlain Regional Planning Board is putting together a 2022 Forward Together Conference that takes place on September 22nd. It is a free program that lasts until noon. So I was planning on going because they do have some interesting sessions on community infrastructure. So talking about broadband activity, we are still, a large portion of Speculator and Lake Pleasant is still in underserved capacity. As we noted today with the instability of our broadband. There is a session on telecommunications infrastructure inventory, and there's a panel that will be comprised of Bill Farber, Rich Grogan from Northern Border Regional Commission, and Ed Hummel, who actually visited Speculator 2 or 3 years ago. He is the Economic Development Representative for the U.S. Economic Development Administration. And then in the little later in the morning, there is Main Streets and Community Planning, Downtown Revitalization, which I think could be important for Speculator, and childcare, available resources that are available within the Adirondacks and North Country to improve access for childcare in rural communities. Another hot topic. So if someone would like to do that, I have provided you with the link to register. Seats are limited, so if you want to do that, let me know and we can carpool. Tomorrow, 8-9, Tuesday in the ball field will be the Historical Society sponsoring of the Onondaga storytelling. There will be that limited campfire that is protected by the fire department and fire prevention equipment. Wednesday is Music on the Point, and Thursday is a long-awaited annual Twigs craft fair. Okay, any other interesting things going on?
So we need to talk about the possibility of going to that conference in September.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I had that on there. I thought I had that on there. I'm sorry. So yes. So there has been a request from Trustee Smith to attend a day at NICOM in the fall, which I support. There are funds available through training that has been budgeted within the trustees' budget. So we would need a motion to approve Trustee Smith attending the fall conference. Okay, and second? Cindy? Okay. So any comments, questions about that? All right, all in favor of Trustee Smith going to NICOM Fall School, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say no. Abstention? Okay, motion carries. It's a really good conference, so I think you'll really like it. Okay, so at this point, I was under the impression that someone on the board wanted to go into executive session. You still want to do that today?
We need to approve the minutes.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Well, let's go back to approving the minutes. Thank you. So I would like a motion to accept the regular meeting minutes of July 25th, 2022. Cindy, second. Jim? Mm-hmm. Yes, Jim? Thank you, Jim. Any comments, questions, corrections to the minutes? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of approving the monthly minutes from 7/25, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no.
Abstain.
And abstain. Okay, so Trustee Smith and Trustee Doniker abstain, so I vote to approve the minutes as well. All right, motion carries. Good. So I'll go back again and ask, trustees wanted to go into executive session to discuss employee performance. Is that true? Okay.
Monitoring. Yep.
Monitoring. Okay, so may I have a motion to go into executive session? Okay, Trustee Smith and Trustee James Rumsey. So at this point, we will end the public meeting. Thank you.